Hello and welcome to Bastards and Broken Things, a podcast dedicated to House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, anything in that sort of world.
Too many.
Brought to you by Fan Critical. Too many things.
Too many of them.
Anything. I'm your host, Ser Len, and joining me, as always, on these hot take adventures is, of course, my trusty squire, a cupbearer, someone who might eventually petition to be the Lord of Fan Critical one day. It's Gareth.
Yeah. I mean, I am the true-born heir, let's be fair. You know.
It's interesting. I think, would you or John be on House Green or Black? That's the interesting question that everyone wants to know.
Well, I mean...
And where would Lucy and Emma be?
Lucy and Emma are obviously House Green. This is the problem for you.
Yeah.
You're like Viserys. You're walking into this blind. You don't realise that I'm the one who's been loyal to you this whole time. I'm the one who should be taking over. Because let's be fair, you're on the way out. Look at you. You're turning into dust in front of my eyes.
Useless.
But you haven't...
Decrepit.
You fucked up the succession, and those greens are... They're going to fuck it all up. You need to come out here, stop making me your squire, give me that knighthood that I very richly deserve, and be done with it.
Hold on. If we get to the end of the season, and I think you've done a good enough job, we said we'll talk about that. The listeners know it, we all know it, and John knows it, and Lucy knows it, and Emma knows it, okay?
Yeah.
So
they'll be in your ear, won't they?
At the moment.
They'll be in your ear. Don't do it. Don't give it to him.
Well, let's see how your performance is here. How is your performance here? Let's see. So, of course, Gareth, the way this works is we come to you, lovely listeners, straight after the episode has aired, and we've watched it, and we give you our unfiltered, unsullied thoughts before our deep dive later in the week. What are we thinking about episode 8, titled The Lord of the Tides, of course referring to Lord Corlys and the matter of his succession. Now, what did you make of this episode?
Well, first of all, did you bother watching this one all the way to the end, or am I going to have to fill in some gaps?
I knew that was coming. I did. I am almost certain I saw the whole thing. We'll see in a minute.
Mate, when that dragon came in and killed everyone,
awesome,
and said, my personality is happy-go-lucky. And we went, oh, yeah, good. Now I can see what personality that dragon has.
Yeah. And Vhagar's like, I'm the grumpy old one. And you're like, that's a girl dragon. Why have you got a man dragon's voice? I saw very confusing.
Because all the smoking. That's what that does.
Good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Hundreds of years of it, if anything.
What do I think of this episode? Is that what you're asking me? I thought, did you ask a question?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I loved it. I loved it again. I said to you off air last week, because we don't do blueberries at this juncture.
No, we don't.
In our hot takes.
Hold those in the fridge.
But I did say to you off air last week, I was like, just by the way, 5 bloob from me for last week's episode. And I think this show has come to life. It was at the point of last week that I was getting a little bit concerned, particularly at the start with that funeral scene. I was like, oh no, is this just going to dwindle out into a 3 blueberry kind of show? I think it has taken off at this point, and I loved it. I thought this was the most emotional episode. If last week's was kind of, lots of action, I suppose. In like a smaller scale, it was like small scale action, wasn't it? But it meant something. This one was the emotional gut punch. What did you think?
I think, and this is no spoiler for what's going to happen, I think this is by far the best episode of the season. I think that it's amazing how they have brought the book Fire and Blood to life in such a way that it's interesting, the book, but because there's loads of big moments that happen, and it's like, oh, that's a big moment. Oh, that's a big moment. But it never dwells. It never dwells. It sort of just rolls through these moments and they wash by you.
It's more like
whereas
dot
now
points,
those
right?
moments are coming to, yeah, these moments are coming to life before my eyes from the text that I've read, and their interpretation is very interesting. But also now the emotional connection I have to some characters, and I think that will nicely roll into hot take number 1, which I've written here in my notes: Viserys, and I am
Oh,
absolutely gobsmacked by Paddy Considine's, as Lucy calls him, performance in this.
yeah.
Now, poor bugger. Now, I've written here in my notes, Gareth, me and you went out for a bucks or a stag do at the weekend, and I can tell you something right now.
That was you on Sunday morning.
I reckon I look like Viserys, in that bed. I reckon I look just like him. Like, poor fucker. I couldn't. It's just, when I saw him in the bed, I was like, okay, this is mental. He is like, and you get a sense of it in the book, and I think they've really gone hard on it here. It's a bit different in the book. But fuck me, I was like, oh God, poor, it's a shame he's going to go out like this. You know what I mean? And then we got those amazing scenes with him, and his overall performance was staggering.
Yeah.
Like, just like him.
Yeah, he did a lot of that.
To the
he
throne.
did a lot of staggering, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was just extraordinary. And George has even said this week, Gurm, and we're not on the best terms with Gurm because he won't release wins or whatever, but he even said this week that
write that book.
Yeah, what Paddy's done has brought that character to life in a way that he could never have imagined in his books, which is kudos to the actor, kudos to the writing staff behind the character in this show. And I just thought hot take number 1 was just his overall performance was just mind blowing.
Can't wait for Gurum's next special announcement. Coming soon, special announcement. That's right. It's the sports teams of Westeros. No, I actually. So we don't exchange hot takes. We come into this blind, like Viserys' right eye,
or Aemon's left. Either one.
I wonder if that means anything, because between them,
ooh,
yeah,
true.
So yeah, I mean, hot take 1 for me was that it was just like how moved I was by Viserys in this episode, and that scene of him walking into the hall is amazing, and
it was amazing.
He gives that little look to Rhaenyra as well. It's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm gonna, because she just asked him, like, you got to protect me, mate. Come on, and that's what he does. It's one last attempt at protecting his daughter, and then his final supper was a beautiful moment as well for a bit. And you're right. It was unbelievable performance, and the emotional center of this.
I actually ended up tearing up when he walked into the
I was pretty
throne
close.
room.
I was pretty close. Yeah.
Even
if it was a bit Phantom of the Opera-esque, but
but it was just the fact that the guy is absolutely broken, and he's one of these characters that we've said just doesn't feel like he fits in Game of Thrones, because he's got a good heart and everything he does seems to be trying to do the right thing. However, his weakness or inability to be harsh or critical or ruthless has essentially is going to cost the realm dearly. But that's not his fault that he's got a good heart, and I found it very emotional, him making that last stand for Rhaenyra. I loved it. And of course we can't not get through the walk to the throne without talking about the beheading of Vaemond, which was glorious. Absolutely glorious. When literally the best thing in that whole scene is when Daemon's like, say it. Say it.
No. Wait, the best thing in that whole scene is when he goes, he can keep his tongue.
Yeah, that is good. See, Daemon's actually wicked in this episode, but that moment where he's like, that you can see Vaemond on his face, he's like, I'm not going to say it. And then he just goes, fuck it. Yeah. They're bastards! Dad, like that. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And then Damon just was like, any excuse, just come on, goading him into it. It was brilliant.
So good.
Absolutely brilliant. And the tension in that scene, once again, was excellent.
It was fantastic. It was so good. I was expecting him to, Viserys to come in and just be like, what is this mama's farce? That's a phrase they use all the time in Westeros, isn't it? But he did ask for Rhaenys's opinion. Good to see where she's aligned herself. I mean, I will say, because we've brought him up, my hot take number 2, we're going to just...
Yeah, which is now hot take 3 in our show.
What was hot take 2?
Viserys was hot take 1. Hot take 2 was the walk to the throne. Hot take 3... Is that not
part of Viserys' hot take?
Oh, no, because we've got the dinner scene as a hot take 4, as a spoiler warning. Right. Let's go.
Hot take 3, then, is about Daemon and how I think the show, before the last 2 episodes, has kind of mishandled him a bit. And because I said to you early on, I think, episode 3 or 4, I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to like him or not. And sometimes that's a good thing. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that like grey characters are a problem, but it's the way that it's just being like too extreme with him. You know, it's like that they're making it very unclear as to kind of what his real motivations are. And I think that's the difficulty. Whereas with Jaime, Jaime Lannister, you understood his motivations, even if you didn't agree with his actions, right?
Well, yeah, but it took 3 seasons to understand those motivations.
Yeah.
So we had
but it did.
Season 1 where you're like, you're just doing it because you're screwing your sister, and, you know, and then season 2... You dislike him even more.
Correct.
You know, he kills his own cousin to escape and all this sort of shit. And then there's the bathtub scene, which then reveals this whole backstory of why he is who he is.
But the point there with Jaime is that they took their time in building that. They gave you time to hate him and then gave you time to grow to love him, right? With Daemon, I think it's been a little bit too all over the place, but I think we're supposed to like him, and I really do after this episode. I loved him in this episode.
Yeah, I thought he was good in this episode. And I hope John, who doesn't necessarily see eye to eye with Daemon, I hope that he does.
Why do you always care what John thinks about him?
You know,
don't worry about it.
Well,
you like him. That's fine. You stand up for your own opinion.
I really like him.
Yeah.
I really like him. I think he's cooler in the book, but once again, you have to fill in the gaps. You know what I mean? You're filling in the gaps with your imagination, like about what he's thinking. Here, we're starting to see his character come to life a bit more, and I think in this episode, his tone was right.
Well,
I feel
do
like
you know what it is
the
as well?
sense of the love between him and Rhaenyra, but you also get like he's protective, you know, and he's also a Targaryen through and through.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So, but this is what I'm saying is like this episode, I think, and a little bit to an extent the last episode, but this one is where you really see like the cornerstone of his character. Like, we know what matters to him is like loyalty to his family. Like, that is his driving motivation.
Yeah. Lineage.
Yeah, but
everything like that.
But also, but not even, because, you know, he knows the truth about the Strongs as well. But
yeah,
they're still his family now, and like he's loyal to his family, and he will fuck up anybody that tries to get in the way with that, and very stylishly as well. So fair play, Daemon.
Well, I think we'll talk about hot take number 4, the dinner scene. Now, there's a couple of things to pick up on here. It's another fantastic scene. Sort of piggybacking off of the pig dread and that. Off of the scene last week with the eye being cut out and everyone in the same room. And this is obviously 6 years on, and you've got that tension still there. And Viserys, for a split second, for like 2 minutes maybe, has healed the realm for 2 minutes. Like, he almost, by sheer will of force, in his essentially dying breaths, reunites Rhaenyra and Alicent, and you get that sense that there is a connection between them again.
If
you know?
they just all went to bed before dessert, that would have been it. End of the season, everyone's happy.
And you see Viserys look around the room, and it was very sweet. He's like, this is what I've always dreamed of, like Helena's dancing with Jace, and people are like, Otto's like toasting and laughing across to like Daemon or something. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Is this in his mind? Right. Is this Milk of the Poppy gone mad? You know what I mean? And it was just lovely. And then obviously he deteriorates, he leaves the room, and it sort of descends again into what we know is going to happen. However, that touching moment between Alicent and Rhaenyra, I think that's fascinating, because where's that come from? Like, I just, wow. I at this point in the source material, they fucking hate each other. Now,
right.
Also, a thing they skip over in this, and I won't talk about it, I'll go into it in a deep dive, is how Rhaenyra and Daemon's kids, and we'll get onto that in the deep dive, Aegon and Viserys, she names her firstborn son with Daemon Aegon, and that pisses Alicent right off, because obviously she's got an Aegon. You know what I mean? And it's that idea of she's done it to like belittle her Aegon. You know what I mean? So, wow, yeah, there's a lot to digest there. We'll get onto that in the deep dive, but I just thought that whole dinner scene was awesome. And Aemond, obviously, who is fantastic. This actor, he's captivating. He is captivating.
That is exactly the word. I'm fascinated by him. Like, I'm wondering if I've like got some sort of weird crush on him, because like I just want to see more of him.
Like that.
Like, yeah. He's a strange looking dude, but it's like,
take off that eye patch. Take it off.
Nephews. It's the way he says stuff as well. I'm just like, this guy, like he is captivating. He's fascinating, and like he's a fucking cool character. And I actually love that we've had this jump so that we can see like what he's come from. This sort of like slightly awkward, like fumbly little kid, to this like massive guy with an eye patch and like
a good fighter,
a very good fighter.
And he rides Vhagar,
and he can take a punch, and he's terrifying. He's like a Bond villain. He's like a proper Bond villain.
Yeah.
And you know, like I like we've said in the past, again, Game of Thrones does grey characters very well, but I tell you what, when you've got a dark character like this, that's kind of cool as well. And I quite like it. I quite like just having this guy who's terrifying and not good. Yeah, I'm a fan.
See, he's all about history and family and stuff as well, and it's you see him and Daemon squaring off there, and I think that's a very interesting rivalry.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Both kind of. Well, Daemon's more Targaryen because he's got both of his parents were brother and sister.
Yeah.
So that he's
Congrats.
fully Targaryen.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? The blonde hair, they sort of look like each other. You see Daemon in Aemond. You know what I mean? You see them having these similarities. So it's very, very interesting. I think we'll round it off, Gareth, with this, which is and we're back to this again. The only negative of the episode for me. Okay.
I wonder if it's the same one that I have.
The Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. So,
and the fact that he accidentally tells Alicent this in a muttered, obviously very fucked up way where he doesn't know what he's saying. And now we're supposed to believe that Alicent is using this as a motivational factor to bring down Rhaenyra. Like, oh, no, it's you. Our Aegon is the prince that was promised. Are you fucking serious? Have you seen that kid? You don't think he's talking about Aegon the Conqueror, or, you know, John in the future is obviously Aegon, so obviously there's too many fucking Aegons. That's the problem.
Is the problem.
Fake Aegon.
Honestly,
in the books. So you've got all this. Yeah,
this is. I mean, we've podcasted for too long together, because this was my hot take 3, was that it's annoying at the end of such a good episode that the last scene is obviously going to be as important as it's going to be, because surely in that situation, Alicent would be like, Viserys is chatting absolute garbage. Like, I know that he's not with it.
Yeah, that's right.
And like, wouldn't take anything that he says seriously. So I find that frustrating to be as a motivation, and also just the unluckiness of it. Like, if they'd just called Aegon Malcolm, none of this would be happening.
Malcolm the Conqueror.
Malcolm, the first of his name.
No, I tell you what, the only way it works is that Alicent has gone so far down a path that she is looking for anything to cling to make this fight tangible and worthwhile and right in her own mind. Bear in mind, Alicent, and you see it pointed out in this episode, the 7-pointed star all over the Red Keep, the fact that they honour the new gods, you know, Smith, Mother, Stranger, Crone, all that lot. And she would never buy in to any of these Targaryen dreams, ever.
No.
This is old god shit.
Yeah.
So, this is dragon gods, yeah? So, it's bizarre to me that now she's suddenly, like, listening to Viserys' dying...
dreams. Okay, yes. Indeed.
Words. So they're going to have to show me something here in the next episode where I'm like, okay, I get that as a motivation for the character, because I just don't buy it. I do not buy it. As I said, the only thing is that she's clinging on to something to make her sons, you know, king, essentially, and protect her family. And this is the fire that she needed to kindle that, because, you know, I thought before that chat, she's going to reconcile with Rhaenyra, potentially. So, interesting.
Maybe she'll read the knife or something.
We've talked...
The knife's like, Aegon needs to hold me. All right.
How can she think that her Aegon is the prince that was promised?
He's awful.
You fucking... Look at the kid.
He's awful.
Unbelievable. Anyway, before we go into any more deep chats, we better stop, because that is the whole point of our deep dive podcast, which is going to be out in a few days' time. Before that comes out, email us your thoughts at fancriticalpodcast@gmail.com, or get in touch with us on socials and let us know what you think of this latest episode, episode 8, The Lord of the Tides. We thought it was a stellar episode. We haven't scored it yet, but I'm going to tell you right now, spoiler warning, mine's going to be good. So tune in for the deep dive. And thank you to my trusty squire, Sir Gareth.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you for joining me.
No probs. And
don't be petitioning for leadership just yet. I've got another 2 episodes before my leadership will be challenged.
And
okay?
After that point,
understand?
All I'll say is, I'll let you keep your tongue. That's all.
Oh, brutal.
No other connotations, just, you know.
Don't geld me. Just give me a swift death, okay? No gelding. All right,
Crispin.
Bye, everybody.